With Arsenal and Manchester City having won yesterday, we've got Arsenal 39, City 37, Villa 36, and then a 7-point gap. Of the chasing pack, Liverpool were the only winners, right down to the next, I think, of Brentford in 12th. Surprisingly, there are a few draws in there. So are you now drawing a line beneath those three?
Yeah, I mean, I'm drawing a line beneath, to be fair, the top two. I think Villa are there and they should be respected, but they're not going to win the league. I'd be amazed. A lot would have to go wrong for Arsenal and City, for Aston Villa to win the league. I look at the league, it's bizarre. I mean, not bizarre in the top two, but just bizarre beneath it in terms of what's happening. You're not sure what's going to happen each week. I thought the game I did last night, Liverpool-Tottenham, was a really strange game. I mean, obviously it was impacted enormously by ill discipline. It probably in some ways, not helped Tottenham, but it galvanised their crowd a little bit, not against the referee. But I came away from that game last night. I mean, the referee, I don't think was amazing, but I don't think he had a bad game with regards to the big decision. I didn't come off thinking the referees impacted that game as much as the actual ill discipline of Tottenham's players. Simmons' challenge was a poor one, and Romero, I mean, he's like Captain Chaos. The minute he gave that goal away, just for the next half an hour, was just a walking time bomb around the pitch. But like you say, that City are dangerous. They've got Haaland and they've got Pep Guardiola, who are someone very special on the pitch and someone very special, obviously, on the bench. And that is the biggest threat to Arsenal, other than them getting injuries to, say, Declan Rice or a couple of other players. But Arsenal, I think, I wouldn't be too worried about the fact that they've scraped through these last couple of games. I think that happens. They weren't great at Everton last night, but were they ever going to be amazing there? I mean, I thought they could have gone 2-0 up as well and made it a lot more comfortable for themselves. I think Arsenal are in a good position. What's going to be really interesting is how they handle it once they get to March, April, May. That's when it's going to be really interesting. But I think coming out of the new year, I feel like going into February, March, Arsenal will extend their lead, is my honest view. I think they'll get to 5-6 points again. I feel it's their year. I feel that they were always going to get maybe closed down a little bit by City. And I might be completely and utterly embarrassed by the fact that Pep Guardiola and Haaland and co could go and win the league again, because I know City fans are getting quite confident. I speak to a few of them and they're thinking it's their year. They're thinking, here we go, we're close to them, they're going to bottle it come March, April, May. But I'm not sure this Arsenal team will bottle it this time.
We're going to be talking about the top half now, and in particular the top three: Arsenal, Manchester City and Aston Villa, separated by only 3 points. And for a brief time on Saturday, Manchester City were leading the way. 41 goals they've scored. That's 10 more than anybody else. They've now scored 3 or more in 7 of their last 8 games, including this 3-0 triumph over West Ham. Jamie, it looks like they are really enjoying their football right now.
Yeah, and it takes me back to when, Man City and Liverpool were, going for titles, and you'd be watching City's results and it'd be like 1-0 after 2 minutes, and you're like, oh, that's over. And I can imagine that's how Arsenal are feeling sort of right now, and possibly Aston Villa as well.
We haven't seen this confidence from them for a couple of years, though, have we?
No, and it just feels like they're getting really into the groove, doesn't it? Winning games, scoring goals, as you've mentioned as well, winning games with ease. And as I said, if you're Arsenal, you're just getting 1-0 wins, which are important, vitally important, of course they are. But it just feels like it just takes a little bit more out of you. Everything almost feels like a grind, where it just feels so easy for City at this moment.
You wonder as well if in this type of race, if it does become tight, what the key differences might be for the clubs. You've talked about Arsenal defensively, but could there be a wild card in this Manchester City pack in Ryan Cherky? Everyone's talked a lot about what he can't do on the pitch, but we're now seeing what he can do.
Yeah, and I think the game over the last few years, you get a lot of people saying, oh, it's boring, that a lot of robots playing. Maybe this guy's the throwback, a maverick. Even Pep Guardiola, look at that. And that's the big thing that stands out, how two-footed he is. Look at it again. It went from the left to the right. He's done the same again. Passes it into Haaland, so he gets the pre-assist on that one again. But that's something that really stands out when you watch him. And listen, we've seen this a few weeks ago, didn't we? We've loved it.
From a player of that quality, Jamie.
But normally you'd see players there. They do the Rabona because they want to put it on the stronger foot. He's doing it on his so-called weak foot, if he has one. And he gets an assist for it from Foden. And we highlighted the reaction of Foden as well. But this was in the Carabao Cup as well. Again, highlights how two-footed he is there. Controls with the left and just finishes with the right. And it does feel like there's definitely something special about this guy, where it's maybe not just a throwback at him as a Maverick, almost like the old-fashioned way. You used to say, you know, Dads, I'm taking you to go and watch him. Yeah, we're Man City fans, but let's go and watch him, and let's be entertained by him. It just feels a little bit like that right now.
I love the way you just said, and then he just finished, well, he smashed it into the top corner with his right foot. 44 shots he had in Ligue 1 last season in France, and this is amazing, Jamie. 22 with the right foot, 22 with the left foot. And this has continued this theme this season. All competitions, right foot 17, left foot 14. He's the only player in all of the top 5 major European leagues to have that 50% split of right foot, left foot. I mean, it just tells you this, he's got an incredible talent. Have you worked out what he is yet in terms of, is he left-footed or right-footed?
No, I think it's just left-footed. I would say. But it was really interesting watching him at the weekend. We spoke about Manchester City playing really narrow, and you think he'd really suit that, and he has done, as we've seen with some of the clips. But he was really wide right, especially in that first half, and caused problems for West Ham. But when you think of his defender, how often do we hear people talk about showing him on his weak foot? He hasn't got one. Where do you show him? That's what makes it doubly difficult. And talent-wise, he's probably as good as anybody in the Premier League. And
yes, it is just the start of his Manchester City career, but he's made a very strong impression in terms of the numbers compared to two of the absolute greats, David Silva and Kevin De Bruyne, who obviously played for a much longer period of time, but at the moment, Turkey's above them both on chances created, expected assists, the number of through balls and big chances created, even double the numbers that Kevin De Bruyne has put out across his career. So looking at this right now, I mean, you've talked recently, Jamie, about obviously Haaland, the machine, 19 goals already. Phil Foden is emerged again after a difficult season last time round. Jeremy Doku's had a great season so far, but then has picked up this untimely injury. So are we seeing this new emergence of a potential star that could be a significant weapon? Well, I think the feeling always was this guy was going to be a star. He's got the ability to do it. But it's just interesting listening to people who know him quite well as coach now. Pep Guardiola. Thierry Henry was his coach, I think, with the under-20 national team as well. And it is a little bit like, oh, what's he going to be like? Maybe away from home in a big game. Could you trust him? But right now, when you think of Manchester City playing at home against deep blocks, there's probably nobody better who you'd want in your squad than somebody like that. It'd be just really interesting how he goes about it, Pep Guardiola, using him, what position he finds him, and what games he actually plays him in. Arsenal doing it differently to Manchester City, as Jamie was saying. Only conceded 10 goals so far. Another clean sheet for them on Saturday evening as they emerged from Hill Dickinson with the 3 points. And what did you make of this, Jamie? There was a poor decision, wasn't it, from Jake O'Brien? Nothing more than that. Yeah, just panics. But listen, fair play to Gyökeres. Listen, we said on last week, I wasn't sure he'd play this game. But he wants the ball, and the way he takes the penalty. There's something about the lad. Listen, I don't think he's top-class player, but there's something I love about him. You know, that sort of mentality. I'm taking the penalty, and when he takes it, he's taking it properly. Almost Shearer-like, isn't it, the way he puts his foot through the ball. I think Arsenal a little bit fortunate with the penalty incident with Saliba. Tierno Barry. Yeah, I think that was... I mean, I couldn't quite believe that wasn't given. But a typical Arsenal away performance. Talking about Manchester City and Arsenal doing it differently. How many times have I said it's Mourinho-like? It's not a criticism. He won plenty of leagues. If they're going to win the league, that's how they're going to do it and go about it. So the next 5 fixtures for Arsenal, all games they dropped points in last season. This can be a really interesting festive period for them. Arsenal top, City in second. Aston Villa are going nowhere because another victory for them against Manchester United to... just keep this extraordinary run of results going right now. 11 victories from these last 12 games. And every time, Jamie, I think even, probably back here we were saying, is this sustainable? And then they throw in another 4 victories just for good measure. Yeah, it's brilliant. And it's great to see. And Unai Emery, what a manager, what he's done. And obviously turned that season around. For the start of the season, couldn't score a goal. Transfer-wise, it didn't go particularly well. And then you look at that, and you know what they have done? When you look at sort of beating Manchester City and they've beat Arsenal, one criticism you could maybe have about Arsenal, and maybe Manchester City, but especially Arsenal right now, is they haven't took almost what you call a big scalp, when they've come up against the team. So we're saying we don't think Aston Villa are as good as Man City and Arsenal. I am saying that, and I do believe it. But they have beaten the two of them. We're up, and Man City beat Liverpool. That was probably a big statement. I was wondering if that counted. No, but what I'm saying is your class... No, but if you're looking at sort of the big clubs in the league, you'd probably say Liverpool, City and Arsenal have been challenging for the league. Arsenal, Chelsea have always been that sort of team sort of trying to challenge the top 3. And then Villa have come from the pack. If you look at Arsenal right now, they haven't beaten any of those sides. And Aston Villa have. But I still think it'll be...
it'd be a tough one because I don't think they're as good as Man City or Arsenal.
You've talked about Morgan Rogers being one of the most informed players in the Premier League right now, Jamie. There seems to be a conversation, even amongst Villa fans, about whether they are or are not in the title race. But in terms of Morgan Rogers, how influential is he to that potential title challenge, would you say?
I think he's everything to it. I said last week that I felt for Aston Villa to really challenge for this title, they'll need Morgan Rogers to be the best player in this league, almost like the PFA Player of the Year. And he'll probably be in the running if he keeps going as he is. And I was thinking about Luis Suarez a few years, or a long time ago now, probably 10 or 12 years ago, where he almost dragged a Liverpool team who you would have said were probably fifth or sixth best team in the league. He was the best player in the league by a mile, and he dragged that Liverpool team to within a game or two from winning the league. I'm probably the same with Aston Villa. I feel like I'm still, even though the results are fantastic, I still feel like I'm looking at a team who should be fighting to get into the Champions League places rather than fighting for the title. The only reason I feel like they could fight for the title is if he continues how he's going and becomes, as I said, the best player in the league. That's the only way I can see them do it.
Glad that tactic of Pep Guardiola's isn't being introduced here at Osterley, otherwise a few of us could well be in some trouble over 100%. The coming days. How sort of strict was, particularly around this time of year, that sort of thing from managers in days gone by? Was there an expectation that, in the words of Neil Warnock, you enjoy it, but enjoy it by being disciplined?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's more different now. I think everyone keeps themselves in good shape. It's totally different. It's like when you go back to pre-season now. Back then when I was playing, you could go out of shape because you know you've got 6 weeks to get fit and it's just going to be pure running. Nowadays, every player keeps themselves in great shape. For Christmas, you usually train on Christmas Day anyway sometimes because usually there's games on Boxing Day. I know this year there's only a few and most of the games are on the 27th, so most will get probably Christmas Day off, which they will like. And that's probably what he's talking about. But you're going to have your Christmas dinner, aren't you? You're going to have a dessert, but I think they'll just go for a run in the evening and they'll be fine. Or they'll do something and they'll be fine. I think it's probably more don't have a drink and don't get carried away. But I think players now are sensible. They look after themselves. They're in great shape. They know there's a lot of football going. But yeah, in my day and age, it would have probably been a bit different.
I suspect it would. Diet, I mean, everything is the finest of margins, isn't it? And that the title race probably sums that up at the moment. And City have one of the trump cards in Pep Guardiola. But it seems so little to choose, particularly between them and Arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we've talked on this show previously how Manchester City and Arsenal are used to being in those positions of chasing the title, not necessarily hunting, but certainly leading the Premier League. And for Arsenal now to be top at Christmas, it's a great thing for them. Now, Arsenal fans won't need reminding that they haven't converted from being top at Christmas, but I think this time for them, it may feel just a little bit different, given the way that they have come through, you might say, a little wobble in form over the past couple of weeks, and they're still winning games.
Are they, City? I was looking back last night because I was looking at Villa's winning run compared to last season. I think Liverpool never won more than 4 games in a row. Is this a City team that has that capability to go on the stupid 13, 14, 15 game winning runs that we've seen them do in seasons gone by? Or are there more fallibilities?
Yeah, I think there's more fallibilities in defence, not going forward. Man City will outscore loads of teams because they're attacking options they've got, and this guy in particular, who looks like he's been watching someone else's dance celebration from years gone by.
Suspect he'll have another raw steak on Christmas
Yeah, of course
Day.
he will, and he eats healthy and he looks after himself, but he's just phenomenal at the moment. So I think going forward, City will outscore a lot of teams. Defensively, I do think you can get at them. So that's why I don't think they could go on and win 13 or 14 games, but they definitely can go and win 4 or 5 in a row. I think their next few fixtures they've got, in the next 4 or 5, they're winnable. And Man City are in fantastic form at the moment, but I do think defensively, and them not having Rodri, you can get at them. You definitely can. And when Rodri does come back, Rob, it's going to be like a new signing for them. And so that will give them fuller confidence. But this guy, Haaland, is a joke. He could be, I've always said it many times, he'd be the difference maker. If Man City are still there with 4 or 5 games to go, I think they'll go on and win it because of Pep Guardiola and because of the form that Haaland's in at the moment.
Tough match in the second half. We should have scored the second or the third goal to be more relaxed. But when you don't do that till the end with 1-0 and these type of teams, you know that it can be tense.
I was just going to ask you, like last weekend, was it maybe a bit harder than it needed to be?
Yeah, it was, and today probably as well with the big chance that we generated, especially in the second half. But this, the Premier League, is really tough, and win away from home is extremely difficult. So we are very pleased that we are back where we want to.
Did you and your coaching staff have to work harder to find solutions to what was happening out there?
Well, obviously every team brings difficult situations. This one, the amount of time that they use the keeper and they start to commit people forward, start to play the long balls, and the game becomes more chaotic and stretched. You have to dominate that game, and if not, it's very difficult, and we managed to do it.
A penalty won it. Victor Gyökeres, not Bukayo Saka, which surprised a few people.
Yeah, he did as well to me. I don't know, Martin. I could see that there was some communication. Then at the end, they have to take ownership. They need to feel who is the best take in that moment. They decided to Victor, and we scored. So great decision.
Well, that's interesting. Arsenal 3 points clear of today's winners, Villa 2 points clear of Manchester City. So they are top at Christmas for the 5th time in Premier League history. But on all the previous 4, they haven't gone on to be champions. So there's still an awful lot of football to be played here.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And it's only Man City chasing them, isn't it? You know, they've not done it before. It's not as if they've got a great squad of players and a wonderful manager. I mean, if you look in your rearview mirror and you see City coming, that's the last team you want. And I thought in recent performances, I thought they've started to look a little bit edgy, especially the Wolves game at home. This is too early to start being edgy. There's plenty of time for that. You know, come March time, April, that's when they get, it's just round the bend there onto the straight, you know, to the finishing line. I hope they can hold their nerve for Arsenal fans' sake. I'm going to go with them because I think they're getting some players back to some fitness. But I just think their performance is a little bit edgy at this stage of the season. And not blowing teams away, you know, and I'd expect them to. I know they've suffered with some injuries, so they were missing some key players. Especially Gabriel was a huge player for them, not only what he does on the pitch, but around the dressing room. He's the leader of the group. I think they might just hold on because I don't think Man City are the Man City of the past. But when you are being chased, I've been chased before by a team who's serial winners of that competition, and they push you. They don't give anything away. They push you right to the end, and I think City will be pushing them. I think it's them too. And Aston Villa, if they keep their players fit, but I think it's a big if, that one.
OK, we'll come to City in a moment. I mean, you've won 5 of these things. Having said what Tim's saying about blowing teams away, on a Saturday night, away at Everton, with a penalty to get a 1-0 win, is that not the type of result you get when you win the title?
Yeah, I think as an isolated one-off game, I think you're taking it all day long, jump back on the flight back down south, job done and move on. I think if it's tight all the way through and it's a grind and there's a little bit of you get a little bit of anxious, you're a little bit tense, and that then takes its toll at some point. You know, I think there needs to be an element of free rolling and going into the next game and bulldozing through teams at certain points of the season to make it a little bit easier and almost less stressful, because there's stress in we talk about we've got to keep living on the edge, but there's an element of you can only keep grinding and grinding and grinding for so much, because mentally it takes so much out of you. Listen, they're right up there now. It hasn't started yet. Honestly, you know, you're talking January, get yourself in position. February is a bit of a kind of a, I don't know, still jabbing a little bit, maybe a couple of uppercuts to see. But until you get to March, see when you get tense in March. So you're still shadow boxing really in trying to just juggle for position. Yeah. So don't get tense yet. I'm not saying they are, but you can't afford to do that yet. But you've got to win games a bit easier to give yourself a bit of breathing space. Yeah,
stress kills you, doesn't it? You know, and at the moment, I think you're absolutely right. I think the Wolves game was the one. When they're playing at home, everyone rolls Wolves over.
But at least they got the job done.
But they got the job done. But like I say, keep doing it. Keep the anxiety. Not only no good for the manager. I mean, he looks great. Mikel's still got all the lovely dark hair and he looks great, but I mean the fans will be suffering. That anxiety from the fans just breathes to the pitch as well, and they haven't done it before, so all they're listening to the noise, the white noise around saying they'll bottle it. They've been had the finger pointed at them before. They bottle it. That's what they do, Arsenal. They always pull out the excuses. I don't believe that this group will do that. I don't believe they've done it in the past. I just think Man City and Liverpool have been too good for them in other years. I think they've got a squad to match them two sides now, especially Man City are the ones who are hard on their heels. I think they'll get it done. You have to do it sooner rather than later. And I think if they do it this year, I think there'll be a team to be reckoned with for a number of years to come. I think the confidence of going course and distance will give them the confidence to be able to do it again. But and again and again. But I just feel like Michael's absolutely right. Until the Easter eggs are finished, then you don't know what, you know.
But the mere fact, I mean, they had a 7-8 point gap a few weeks ago. The mere fact that everybody's talking about you and you are suddenly the team to catch, where they've been chasing in Liverpool and City in the past, does that bring its own added pressure when you're up there?
That's where you want to be. That's waking up every morning like it's Christmas Day. Yeah, you got to bounce out of bed for that, you know, and bounce to the next game. And, like, you can't be letting that get to you as the negative. What if we lose it? You know, we're talking about the Villa before about playing well and seeing the positive. You don't see who's behind you. Yeah. You just see us. You know,
but they've got to deal with that expectation, Michael. That's the
no, 100% they do. But they've got to see it as a privilege and a great position to be. Everyone else in the league wants to be in their position, you know. And people say, "But I'd rather be chasing." No chance. I want to be the best. I want to be at the top to chase me. That means I'm the best at the moment, you know. So don't see. I've got a thing about don't see that as a negative. Like people are chasing you. It's because you're in the best position. So. That'll be my approach, and that's kind of what I got thrown into when we were fortunate to win things. Was it's the best position to be in and thrive on it and embrace it. I do think they've accumulated a kind of mentality and a resilience and almost a bit battle hardened because they've built towards this. It's not a one-off, so that should help them to the point. But actually, like Tim said, the longer it goes, that last step becomes harder. Because there's a build-up of scar tissue and there's a build-up of... And that all of a sudden... So it's a mental battle once it gets...
And they've got a manager on the other side. I think we're both saying the same thing. I think it's Man City and them, yeah? And they've got a manager who's a serial winner. He knows how to do it. And he'll be telling them... He'll be in that Man City dressing room as if they need reminding and saying, listen, they can play all they want around now. It's nothing. We're jockeying for position. When we get to the home straight, around March... That is when we're going to move gear, we're going to put the pressure right on them and they're going to fold. That's what I would be saying if I was Pep Guardiola. Now, he's hoping for that. He doesn't necessarily always believe that, but that's what he needs to tell his players. So they need to put themselves in a position to be able to pounce. You can't win the league now. You can be out of it now. So Arsenal will be hoping that they put an unbelievable run together, which they're capable of doing, and then Man City drops some points and gives them a little bit of breathing space, which gives them the confidence to go on and extend the lead, you know, so it's unattainable. But it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be great. It's going to go right to the end, in my opinion. I think it's a lot to fight for in the Premier League. I think the relegation spots are up for grabs as well. Obviously, top 4, top 5 possibly. And that Championship now, I just believe it's between them two teams.
OK, talking of Pep Guardiola, let's see what he thought after that 3-0 win against West Ham.
What were you delighted with today?
For a few things, they were really, really good. We're improving a lot in terms of defensively. I love it a lot. With the ball, we were miles away. What you have to be a contender to win a big trophies. So today the right spots were not occupied and our movement was not correct. So we weren't happy, but I'm happy because I visualize I have margin to improve.
That turnaround in points, the gap to Arsenal, at one point it was 8 or 9 at the start of November. And it's a fairly new group of players that you've put together and getting that consistency. How do you think you have turned it around to this point?
No, it's good to be there, but I'm telling you, so we cannot beat Arsenal if we don't improve in our game. So it will not be enough. People say, it's what really, truly believe. I'm not saying I'm not happy. I'm so happy. So we are in good position, Champions League. We are close on top of the league. We have played teams at 6-7 position. The qualification for the Champions next season is game by game a little bit bigger and bigger, and that is really important. But what we define the team is improving in our game, and every game play in different way defensively, and that's why the way you have to attack is completely different, because the way you attack it depends on the opponent's shape, and today was clear what you had to do, and we were not in the right spots, and that is what you have to improve.
We're talking about improving. They have picked up 21 points in the last 24 available. But when he says we were miles off the levels to be contenders, is that just an insight into a serial winner there, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, it's... within the group, it's a fantastic place to be, knowing that you're capable of winning games and you're winning games and there's more to come. I think if at this stage, we're talking about building the season, at this stage, if you think we're maxed out, you think we've got a long way to go. He's probably sitting there just prodding the players to keep them, like we said, keep them on the edge. There's more to come. You're doing great here. There's a bit more. We need to improve that. He'd be quite content, I think, right now, saying we've been there, we've done it. We can get more from this group, but we're still winning games.
And when you've got a fellow with 19 league goals already, you've always got a chance of winning the league, wherever you're at, haven't you?
You know, I was fortunate to play in a team. We had a prolific goal scorer. You know, we relied on him so much, and everyone was asking him questions. You know, if he gets injured, and you know, unfortunately in that season he didn't miss too many games. You know, we went on to win the league. I think anyone's got a chance with that man in their team. I mean, it's just incredible. His numbers are just phenomenal. I mean, you don't even have to see. Once you see Man City 1-0 up, you flick on, like, see who scored. You pretty much know, don't you? I mean, he's phenomenal. I think his all-round game is great. I think he's smiling now. He looks like he's happy. He's got Cherky there playing. Looks like he's fantastic as well. Addition. A lot of them, Nico Gonzalez, I think they've all settled into Man City now at the right time. They're doing it without Rodri. I mean, we've said for many years now, or last year, we can't win nothing without Rodri. They can. They can do it, and Pep's given them the belief that it's a group of players. We are capable. We are good enough. That's what he'd be telling them. He's telling the media, we're not good enough. We're not at the level at the moment. You know, that's what managers do. He's with the master of the mind games in Sir Alex Ferguson. He would always say that, but behind closed doors, he'd say completely different to what he's telling the media. When he's talking to these boys, like Kenny Dalglish, when he was talking to us, was a completely different animal to what he was when in front of the camera. So, you know. It's mixed messages to the media, unfortunately. You'll never know the truth.
Yeah, but Haaland's the joint most goals in a Premier League season by Christmas. Is he more rounded? Is he more of a leader? Is he a little bit even more mature this season?
Yeah, I think that's a natural evolution, really, of probably getting a bit older. He's obviously been there for a good period of time now. He has to take an added responsibility. You can see that even there's an element of that when we're talking about Arsenal. There's a bit of a fun element to it, and they almost like they're feeding off each other and they're enjoying that and taking it almost a little bit light-hearted. And I say that in a certain way. Arsenal seem very serious and business-like. I do think Arsenal can shut teams out better than what City can, but Haaland's certainly taking that. And they all seem to be looking at him, even when they're all celebrating goals. Yeah. It's like they want to celebrate with him first, even if someone else has scored, you know. There's a little bit of that going on. So that does kind of show you how much is going within the dressing room.
Foden at the moment is back. Yeah. You know, he's back to his best. He's playing in that little 10 position on the D, scoring important goals. But the interplay, interchanging of positions, it's ominous.